I grew up in Dallas, Texas.
Big brick house, country club Christmas parties, private school uniforms, all of it. From the outside, we were that picture-perfect upper-middle-class American family. My dad, Mark, is a trauma surgeon at a university hospital. Quiet, exhausted, always working. My mom, Linda, is a stay-at-home mom who basically ran our lives like a PR campaign. And then there's my older sister, Chloe, 2 years older, fashion-obsessed, artistic, beautiful, the golden child. Mom's words, not mine. I was the smart one. The responsible one. The one who doesn't need attention to succeed. That sounds like a compliment until you realize it's just an excuse to ignore you.
Fast forward, at 19, I get into med school in New York City.
It was my dream. I wanted to be like my dad. When that acceptance email hit, I cried so hard I could barely read the words. My parents were thrilled. "We'll cover your tuition," Dad said. Mom nodded. "But you'll have to be careful with money. New York is expensive." Yeah. I had no idea how expensive. 4 months into med school in NYC, my life looked nothing like a college brochure. My classmates were doing normal college things. Joining clubs, going to parties, weekend trips, upstate brunch after exams. I was doing tutoring high school kids in chemistry, working event shifts at random hotels, slinging drinks at a noisy bar in Midtown until 2 a.m. My parents paid my tuition. Everything else, rent, food, subway, textbooks, I had to cover. At first, I thought, okay, this will be tight but manageable. Spoiler, it was not manageable. New York rent ate half of my pay. The rest disappeared into groceries, MetroCard refills, and surprise costs like lab materials or last-minute textbooks that weren't mandatory, but were actually mandatory. I started cutting corners. Skipping meals or replacing them with instant ramen, buying the cheapest off-brand bread, treating myself with a $3 grocery store frozen meal, biking instead of taking the subway whenever it wasn't snowing. You know that TikTok joke, girl dinner? Yeah, my girl dinner was stale bread and peanut butter. When I could afford peanut butter. I was constantly exhausted. I'd get home from the bar at 2:30 or 3 a.m., shower half asleep, then be in lecture at 8 a.m. trying not to drool on my notes. I'd sit there thinking, I'm going to fail. I'm actually going to fail med school. The anxiety was like a second full-time job. One night, when the stress and hunger and sleep debt finally piled too high, I broke and called the person who had always said, "If you're in trouble, call me." My mom. "Hey honey," she said, cheerful as ever. "How's New York?" I tried to make my voice light. "It's good.
Just, Kinder tight money, wise.
Is there any way you could maybe send a little help this month?
Like, anything.
Just so I can breathe a little." She sighed.
"Hannah, you know how things are.
Your father's salary looks big on paper, but with your tuition and all our expenses, there's not much left. We're already stretching to cover your school.
You re an adult now, sweetheart.
This is the time to learn independence."
Independence.
I was literally too broke to buy vegetables, but okay.
Independence.
I swallowed my pride and said, "Yeah, I get it. Don't worry." We hung up. I stared at my cheap white apartment ceiling and told myself, you'll just work more.
You'll be fine.
People have it worse.
But something in me cracked a little.
When I needed to escape, I did what a lot of us do. I opened Instagram. Big mistake. My sister Chloe's feed looked like a European fashion magazine.
Chloe, age 21, studying fashion design in Paris.
Every post was like Chloe in some trendy cafe with latte art and pastel macarons. Chloe at a rooftop party with the Eiffel Tower glowing in the background. Chloe on weekend trips to Monaco, Milan, and who even knows where else. Chloe in outfits she tagged as #Chanel, or #Dior, or #YSL. Then I saw that post. She was on a rooftop overlooking the Eiffel Tower at sunset, wearing a stunning Dior dress. The caption: "Mom always knows exactly what I need, Blackheart #blessed #fashionlife #Paris. Mom always knows exactly what I need." I stared at that photo while my stomach growled because I'd decided to skip dinner to save money. How are they buying her Dior dresses when they can't send me $20? At first, I made excuses for them. Maybe Chloe's school gives her a stipend. Maybe mom is just good at finding deals. Maybe dad got a bonus and wanted to spoil her for her birthday. But then I remembered a lot of things. Like, when I brought home straight A's in middle school, mom said, "That's what we expect from you, Hannah." The same day, Chloe came home with B's and C's, and mom took her out for ice cream to celebrate her creativity. When Chloe turned 16, she got a shiny used Mini Cooper. When I turned 16, mom said, "You're so responsible, you'll appreciate a car you buy yourself more."
Spoiler, I never got one.
I thought that was just my family's weird dynamic. I didn't realize yet how much worse it really was.
The breaking point came on a Friday night.
The bar was packed, the kind of Friday where everyone's yelling, music's too loud, and my Apple Watch thinks I'm doing a HIIT workout. I'd been running on maybe 4 hours of sleep and a granola bar. I was carrying a tray of cocktails when the room did something weird. The lights smeared. The sounds went muffled. The tray suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. "Don't drop this," was my last coherent thought. I tried to grab the edge of the bar. Missed. Everything went black. Next thing I knew, I was staring at a hospital ceiling, 4 in my arm, heart monitor beeping. A nurse leaned over me.
"Hey there, Hannah.
You with us?" My throat was dry. "What happened?" "You fainted at work. Your boss called EMS. You're severely dehydrated and borderline malnourished. You've also been under extreme stress. When's the last time you had a full meal?" I didn't even know how to answer that. "Are your parents nearby?" she asked. "No, they're in Texas." She nodded, not judging, just sad. "You need to slow down.
Your body is not a machine."
I was discharged later that day with fluids in me, a stack of paperwork, and a thick layer of shame. On the subway ride home, I thought, okay, I just fainted at work. I almost dropped glass all over customers.
I could VE hit my head.
And for what? So I can prove I'm independent, while my sister is sipping champagne in Paris? But then the panic hit. I'd have fewer shifts now. Less money. Less food. More fear. When I got home, there was a text from my coworker friend Maya. "You okay? Your boss said you collapsed."
Freaking out, girl.
I told her what happened. She showed up at my apartment with groceries. Real food. Pasta, ground beef, veggies, sauce, even orange juice. She cooked spaghetti in my tiny kitchen while I sat at the table, feeling like a little kid again. "You're not getting any help from your parents at all?" she asked, shocked, when I explained the situation. "They pay my tuition," I said. "But that's it. Mom says they're barely staying afloat." Maya frowned. "Isn't your dad a surgeon?" "Yeah. And your sister's in Paris. How's she paying for that?" I shrugged. "Mom says she has a special arrangement for Chloe. I don't know what that means." Maya put down the spoon and looked at me. "I'm not trying to stir up drama, but something's not adding up." I laughed it off, but that night lying in bed, those words echoed, "Something's not adding up." So I did something I rarely do. I called Chloe. She answered on the 3rd ring, sounding surprised. "Hannah? Is everything okay?"
"You never call." "Yeah, I'm fine. I lied."
"Just checking in. How's Paris?" "Amazing," she sighed dramatically. "Mom just sent me the cutest Chanel bag for my birthday next month. I'm gonna die, it's so pretty."
Chanel.
For a next month birthday. My stomach clenched. "Nice," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. Random question. How much does Mom send you each month? Like, for living expenses?" "Oh." She said it casually, like it was no big deal. "Around $3,000 a month. Plus extra if I need stuff. Fashion school is expensive." "Why?" $3,000 every month. I almost dropped my phone. "No reason," I whispered. "Just wondering." We chatted for another minute, but I barely heard anything. I hung up with some weak excuse about needing to study.
I sat there in my dark little room, doing the math.
$3,000 a month for Chloe, $0 a month for me, and my mother telling me, we have nothing extra. I told myself, maybe Dad doesn't know. Maybe Mom's just trying to avoid stressing him out. Maybe they think they're teaching me to be strong. I decided to wait. I was going home for Christmas anyway. I could ask in person. I had no idea that one dinner would blow my family up. To save money, I booked the cheapest, most miserable red-eye flight from New York to Dallas. I could only stay a day and a half before my next bar shift, but I needed to see them. When Dad opened the front door, his smile faltered. "You've lost weight," he blurted. "A lot of it." I hadn't noticed how bad it was until I saw his face. Mom came in from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. She froze when she saw me. For a second, something like guilt flashed in her eyes. Then the usual bright smile snapped into place. "Hannah, look at you, city girl."
She hugged me.
Her arms felt stiff. We sat down to dinner. Salad, soup, crispy chicken wings. I swear, that plate of food looked like a feast. Dad kept watching me. "Are you eating properly?" he asked. I hesitated. Then, for once, I didn't sugarcoat. "Not really," I admitted. "This is the nicest meal I've had in a while." He frowned. "What do you usually eat?" "Instant noodles. Bread. Discounted pre-packaged stuff if it's on sale."
"What about your school cafeteria?"
"It's like $5 a meal. I can't afford that." He stopped, fork halfway to his mouth. Is the money I send not enough?" I blinked. "What money?"
Silence.
Dad slowly turned to Mom. "The allowance," he said carefully. "The $2,000 I've been transferring for her every month. Linda, you've been sending it, right?" My heart started pounding. Mom stared at her plate. "Hannah," Dad said, voice tight, "you haven't been getting any money from us?" "At all."
I shook my head.
"Nothing. I thought you weren't sending anything." He looked genuinely confused. "I've been transferring $2,000 on the first of every month. For you.
For rent, food, whatever you need."
"I told your mom to move it into your account." I felt like the room tilted again. "Mom told me you guys were barely affording my tuition. That there was nothing left." Dad turned fully to her now.
"Linda."
She was still staring at her plate, knuckles white around her fork. "Linda," he repeated, his voice low and dangerous, "have you been sending Hannah the money I gave you?" Slowly, she shook her head.
"No."
The word hit the air like a gunshot. Dad's voice rose. "You've been keeping it? For what? The house is paid off. We don't have car payments. Where is that money going?" Mom finally looked up. Her chin trembled, but there was defiance in her eyes. "I've been sending it to Chloe," she said. "She needs it more." My jaw actually dropped. "What?" "She's in Paris," Mom said. "Fashion is a tough business. She has to look the part. The right clothes, the right events, the right people."
"You'll be fine, Hannah."
"You're like your father. You don't need help." Dad went pale. "How much have you been sending her?" $3,000 a month, Mom admitted. "Sometimes a little extra."
"Extra."
Dad's voice cracked. "How much extra?" "I don't know," she snapped. "Another $2,000 or $3,000 some months. For networking events, pieces for her portfolio, a bag here and there." "The Chanel bag you bought her for her birthday," I added quietly. Mom's head whipped toward me. "How do you know about that?" "I called her," I said. "She told me. She also told me you send her extra whenever she needs something special." While I was fainting at work from exhaustion because I couldn't afford food. Dad closed his eyes for a second like he was trying not to explode. "So let me get this straight," he said finally, his voice shaking. "You have been lying to me about sending Hannah her allowance, sending thousands of dollars every month to Chloe for luxury items, letting Hannah starve and work herself into a hospital bed. And you thought that was okay because Chloe is special?" "You don't understand," Mom said, tears spilling now. "Chloe is sensitive.
She is not like you and Hannah."
She needs support to succeed.
Hannah is strong.
She's practical. She doesn't need us the way Chloe does. The words hit me harder than anything. I had always felt that. Now I was hearing it out loud. Dad slammed his hand on the table, making the plates jump. She doesn't need us? She collapsed at work, Linda. Her boss called. She was hospitalized for exhaustion and malnutrition. Did you tell me? Mom's eyes widened. No, she whispered. Of course not, he said bitterly. Because then I'd find out where the money was actually going. No one spoke. My chest hurt. My eyes burned. It was like every childhood moment of being second place had been building to this scene. Finally, Dad turned to me. His voice softened.
Hannah, I am so sorry.
I thought you were getting that money. I had no idea you were struggling like this. I shook my head. I thought, maybe you guys just didn't have it. I didn't want to be ungrateful. He looked at Mom again. His jaw set. From now on, I'm handling the finances. I'll wire money directly to Hannah's account. Chloe's allowance is getting slashed. And we're going to talk to a lawyer. Mom's head snapped up. A lawyer? For what? For the family trust, he said. The one that's supposed to be split evenly between both girls. I have a feeling this isn't the only account you've been reallocating. Her silence was all the confirmation we needed. That night was hell. I went to my old room and lay there, listening to my parents argue downstairs. Their voices rose, then fell to sharp whispers, then rose again. Words like betrayal, stealing, favoritism, and divorce floated up the stairs. I thought about all the times in my life when Chloe got a car, I got you can save up. Chloe got Europe for summer art programs, I got maybe next year. Chloe's art was framed in the hallway, my academic awards sat in a drawer. It all snapped into focus. Later that night, Dad came to my room and sat on the edge of my bed. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. There's more, he said. We have a trust fund that was supposed to be split 50-50 between you and Chloe when you turn 25. Your mom has been quietly siphoning money from it into a separate account in Chloe's name. Around $300,000 so far. I just stared at him. I could not even picture that much money. I've frozen everything, he continued. We'll get it sorted. Legally. It's going to be messy, but I promise you this, Hannah, I will make it right. I nodded, tears spilling down my cheeks. I don't want her to be broke, I whispered. I don't understand why I was treated like I mattered less. He squeezed my hand. You didn't. You don't. Your mother's issues are not a reflection of your worth. The next day before I flew back to New York, he transferred $5,000 to my account. Back pay, he called it, for the 4 months of allowance I never got, and set up a recurring $1,000 monthly transfer, matching what Chloe would now get. Reduce your hours at work, he said at the airport. Go down to just what you enjoy. Focus on school. Eat real food. Please. I nodded. On the plane back, my phone buzzed. It was Chloe. What did you say to Dad? She snapped the second I picked up. He cut my allowance to 1,000. 1,000, Hannah. I can't live on that in Paris. I took a deep breath. I told him the truth. That I was working 3 jobs, fainted from exhaustion, and hadn't gotten a single dollar of the money he thought he was sending me. That's not my fault, she shot back. I didn't know you weren't getting anything. Mom told me you were fine. That you didn't want help. Well, now you know, I said quietly. So what are you going to do about it? She was silent for a long moment. What am I supposed to do? She finally whispered. Get a job? I'm a full-time fashion student.
I am a full-time med student, I said.
I manage. She hung up on me. That Christmas was the last one we spent as the old version of our family. Over the next year, everything changed. Dad moved out into a small apartment. Mom hired a lawyer, then Dad hired a better one. The trust fund was put back the way it was supposed to be. The court saw the paper trail of Mom funneling money and lying. The settlement leaned heavily in Dad's favor. Mom had to move into a small condo and, for the first time in over 20 years, she got a job, part-time at a department store. I won't lie. There's a part of me that felt grim satisfaction knowing she was standing on her feet for hours dealing with rude customers instead of sitting at home wiring $5,000 to my sister's Chanel habit. Meanwhile, with real financial support, I quit the event staffing job. I cut my bar shifts to just weekends. I kept tutoring because I actually liked it. I started sleeping, eating actual meals, studying without my brain fogging from hunger. My grades shot up. Professors who had barely noticed me started commenting on my potential. I joined the Pre-Med Student Association.
I made friends.
Real friends, not just people I passed in hallways at 3 a.m. Chloe surprised me the most. At first, she was furious. She called crying about her reduced allowance, said she couldn't possibly survive in Paris on what Dad was giving her. But Dad didn't budge. So Chloe did something no one expected. She adapted. She got a part-time job at a small boutique run by an older French woman who'd been in fashion for decades. She started learning about the business side, margins, sourcing, what sells, what doesn't. One day, on a video call, she held up a dress she'd made. "It's made from deadstock fabric," she said proudly. "My professor says my work has gotten more mature. He thinks having to work within a budget forced me to be more creative." I smiled. Who knew not having $5,000 a month would be good for you? Certainly not me, she laughed. But yeah, I think I like this version of me better. Our relationship slowly changed. For the first time, we were talking as equals, not as Mom's golden girl and Mom's afterthought. She apologized, in her own way, for not seeing what was happening. "I honestly thought you just didn't want stuff," she said once. "Mom always said you were low maintenance." "I am," I said. "That doesn't mean I deserved nothing." She nodded. "You're right." Mom had the hardest adjustment. She called me occasionally, but our conversations were surface level. "How's school? How's New York? Are you dating anyone?" She still tried to keep the old dynamic with Chloe, offering to send her money she didn't really have. To Chloe's credit, she started saying no. "I can't take money from you anymore, Mom," she told her. "It's not right. I'm okay. You need to figure yourself out." Mom eventually started therapy. She told me, haltingly one night, that she grew up as the forgotten child in her own family, overshadowed by her older sister. "I think I overcorrected with Chloe," she said. "I wanted one of my kids to feel special. I just didn't realize I was sacrificing you to do it." It didn't fix everything, but it was a start.
Fast forward 3 years.
I'm in my 4th year of med school now, near the top of my class, getting ready for residency interviews. I've got a life in New York, a tiny circle of friends who feel like family, a favorite coffee shop where the barista knows my name, routines that don't involve collapsing from hunger. Dad calls me every week. He flies out for my big milestones. White coat ceremony, first time scrubbing in to assist big exam celebrations. We talk about medicine, life, and all the conversations we never had when I was a kid and he was always too tired from surgery shifts. "I always knew you'd make a great doctor," he told me recently.
"But watching you push through all that,
I'm proud of the person you are even more than the doctor you're becoming." Chloe? She did it. She launched her first independent capsule collection in Paris last month. Minimalist, practical designs that look expensive but are made from sustainable, affordable materials. The opening runway show was small but packed. And in the front row, Dad, in a suit, beaming, taking pictures like a proud soccer parent at a championship game. Afterward, Chloe called me in tears. "He came," she sobbed. "He flew all the way to Paris just to see me. Not because Mom dragged him, not because it was some family duty. Just because he wanted to be there." "Yeah," I said. "That's what it's like when people value you for you, not for what image you make them look like." As for Mom, her life is quieter now. She's an assistant manager at that department store. She hates it and loves it at the same time. She complains about difficult customers but also tells stories about co-workers she likes, about learning to manage a budget for the department. She called me a few months ago at night. Her voice was shaking. "I'm proud of you, Hannah," she said. "I was so wrong. The way I treated you. The way I made you feel like you had to survive on your own. I'm sorry." I didn't forgive her entirely in that moment. Real life isn't that tidy. But I let the words land. "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot." This Christmas, we're doing something wild. We're all spending the holiday together. Dad, his fiancée, Catherine, a pediatric nurse he met at the hospital, me, flying in from New York, Chloe, flying in from Paris, and Mom, who Dad insisted on inviting because, as he said, we may be divorced, but we're still family. It's not going to be a Hallmark movie. There will be awkwardness.
Tension.
Probably a few passive-aggressive comments over mashed potatoes. But it will be honest.
No more secret accounts. No more golden child versus invisible child.
No more collapsing from exhaustion while someone else gets Chanel. Just a messy, real family trying to do better. Sometimes I think back to that night in the bar when I hit the floor. At the time, it felt like rock bottom. Now, I see it as the crack that finally let some truth in. If I hadn't collapsed, my boss wouldn't have called my parents. Dad wouldn't have realized I never got the allowance. The trust fund stuff might have gone on for years. Maybe Chloe would still be living off money my mom stole from both of us. Maybe I'd have dropped out of med school from burnout. Instead, did it hurt? Yeah. It destroyed the version of my family I thought I had. But it also gave all of us a chance to build something more real.
Today, I am not the less favored one anymore.
I'm just Hannah,
a med student,
a daughter, a sister, a person who deserves support and love, not because I'm special, not because I'm perfect, but because I'm human.